Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our Return to School series. We are here for the Prepare with Flair Back to School with an IEP. My name is Beth Allen. I will be your tech support today. I'd like to welcome our presenters, Kelsey, Emily, and Emiliana, and Margarita. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Beth. Thanks so much for sharing that information with us today. My name is Kelsey, and I am the Michigan Alliance for Families Early Childhood and Youth Training Specialist. And we are so excited that you're able to join us today. I am here with Emily, Emiliana, and Margarita. Emily, how are you doing today?
Hi, Kelsey. Hi, everyone. I am doing great. I'm Emily, the parent mentor for North Oakland and North Macomb counties, and I'm also the parent of two elementary age children, one who has an individual education program or IEP for 6 going on 7 years now. And I would love to introduce my wonderful colleague, Emiliana. Emiliana, I am so glad that you're here with us today.
Thanks, Emily. I am Emiliana, the Greater Kent Regional Parent Mentor. I am no stranger to being prepared for schools. I am a mother to a son that is in high school, so being prepared for the school year is definitely a necessity. So hopefully throughout this presentation, you could utilize a few of our tips and tricks to make a successful school year for your household. Let's welcome Margarita.
Hi, my name is Margarita Rodriguez, and I am the statewide parent mentor for Spanish-speaking families. I'm also a mom of a 16-year-old that happens to have autism. I'm happy to have you all join us today.
Wonderful. Thanks, ladies. We're excited to be here. Let's move on to our agenda.
First, we're going to start with preparing ourselves.
And next, we're going to discuss how we prepare our children.
Then we're going to cover preparing our individualized education program, IEP Team.
And then we'll briefly talk about our checklist, where we're going to recap some of the information that we're covering here and also provide some additional tips and tricks to help us wrap up the summer and prepare with Flair for the upcoming school year. We want to make sure that we are ready. And hopefully, we're going to have some time for some questions too. So let's get started. Now, what comes to mind when you think about going back to school? Feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll see what you guys say. Do we see? Yeah, okay. School buses. I agree. Notes. Yes, taking lots of notes of what we're going to do. Some IEPs. Okay. Stress. Yes, schedule changes. All right, we have lots going on. Teacher, staff. Okay. You know, what sometimes we don't think about as parents is how going back to school affects us. As our kids head back to school, it's a good reminder that we have some preparing to do too. And taking some time to think about the changing routines, the reviewing our kiddos' IEPs, or thinking about what's working well this summer or what might not have worked so well, that can really help. It can help to center ourselves and our calendars and make sure that we are setting the stage for a stronger, more collaborative school year. So, Margarita, can you tell me some things that you do as you prepare for the new school year?
Yes, as a mom of a 16-year-old through the years, I have learned how important it is to have morning routines for our family. Through trial and error, here are some of the things that I would like to share with you today. Wake up at least 20 minutes before the kids. I know as parents, it's so hard to find some time for ourselves. Sometimes giving us 20 to 30 minutes for ourselves can make a big difference on how our day goes. Sometimes, no matter how much we plan our days, unexpected things can happen. Adding some extra time into our plans can be very beneficial. I have always tried to come up with creative ways to waken up my son so he is less grouchy. Finding a way to help them start the morning in a better way can make a big difference on how your day starts. It's always a struggle to wake up my son until I found out that if the dog will climb on top of him and start licking him, and then he will wake up happy and start playing with the dog. If that did not work, I would lay next to him and start singing and purposely mess up the lyrics, and he will start correcting me until he could not help himself to be if was awake. Review day by day, preparing for the weather and type of clothing. In my case, with my son, changing of clothes according to the weather was a struggle. Establish tasks the night prior. Pick up clothes, have backpack ready, assignments, homework, have lunch ready, snacks. Establish time of when to be out of the house or at the bus stop. Use a big clock for my son to check the time.
We do a lot of this too because if I didn't have structure in the morning, I'd lose the only time of the day that is solely for me. So I get up around 4:45 during the school year so I can hit the gym, shower, and have breakfast before the kids get up. And if I tried to do this at any part of the day, which I have tried, it'd be absolute chaos because of after school activities and all of my committee meetings. So the adjustment to early mornings was a lot easier than I thought it would be, and I love to be the only one that's awake in the morning when everything is still dark and quiet. And it really allows me to set the tone for the day, which is quite different from Margarita's experience because my kids are both in elementary school and they have more needs. So we do a lot of the same things she does, but we also review our lunch menu. My kids pack their own snack boxes, and then we talk about what specials and things they have that day on their schedule and make sure that their backpacks are packed properly. So, like, we're looking for library books, their gym shoes, their snow stuff. Knowing what the day looks like is 100% needed because my son relies heavily on routines and he really, really needs that to be successful.
We talk about our morning routine. Now let's talk about a sleep schedule. Having a sleep schedule for our kids is another way of helping our kids have a better morning. Our kids thrive with routines, and creating a sleep routine is another way of giving them structure. Something that works for me is to start working on sleep schedule 1 to 2 weeks before school starts. Start talking about what school is going to look like. Sending them to bed on a time that gives them enough hours to rest and feel refreshed for the next day. Decrease technology use before time. Use visuals to create a specific routine for nighttime.
And we do a lot of those things, the same things, especially with the timers and the routines. But because my kids are little, we add bedtime stories and we really, really focus on teaching skills like flossing their teeth and showering by themselves. But after the kids lay down, I do too. And my phone stays on do not disturb from that time until I go to sleep. So I use that time for reading, for meditating, for yoga, because for me, bedtime is all about disconnecting with the world and reconnecting with myself. And if you need me after 8 p.m., it's not likely going to happen. We're going to cover organization next. I am a very type A girl, and everything in my house has a place with a label. And organizing really, really gives me a sense of control, and it helps me reduce stress and arguments with my kids and my husband. And I love organizing so much that last year we did an entire webinar on it. So, Beth, if you could please pop that into the chat for our guests today. I have four main tips and then we'll cover the points on the slide. So number one is that if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to maintain it. And I know that the Pinterest boards and TikTok reels filled with all the beautiful pantries and linen closets are drool worthy, but if things don't work for you, you're not going to maintain it. And that's why there's a whole world online of people doing reset videos for content. Number two is that if it is not accessible, your family isn't going to use it. If your kids can't reach their jacket hook, or if they have to move five things out of the way to put away their water bottle, they're not going to do it, and neither are you. Tip number three is to remember what works for you now might not work later, and you're going to have to adapt because our systems in the summer don't work like our systems in the winter. Every season has its own stuff. So snow gear is swapped for swim gear and sandals for boots, and all these things take up different amounts of space and they need to be stored differently. Tip number four is don't invest a bunch of time or money until you find what works for you and works with what you have. That pretty much sums it up by saying super cute matching containers and the IKEA units and all those things are great in theory, but until you find out what you can actually manage and maintain, I really caution spending a lot of time and money on those things because the plastic baskets from Dollar Tree or the reinforced Amazon boxes are going to work just as effectively and are a great option while you figure out what works. So into the specifics that are on that slide deck for you, um, I really, really want you to print those calendars. just print them and hang them up so that you have a quick reference when you can't find your phone or if the Wi-Fi is down. So I hang our school calendar in the cabinet next to our fridge, and that's where we have all our morning items like our coffee and our vitamins and our tea. And that's the perfect time when you're printing those off to put all of those half days and school breaks into your calendar. So personally, I'm a digital girl and I love labels and I love color coding. And my work and personal calendars are digital apps and they all sync into a single wall mounted system that my husband also has access to. My kids can also see this, so everybody's appointments and activities and meetings are scheduled and everyone has their own color. I'm green, my daughter is pink, my son is blue, my husband is orange, and our family events are always in purple. So at the start of each week, we have an informal family meeting and we talk about what's coming up. And that really helps reduce anxiety and ensure everyone is on the same page. And my kids can go see if they have something in their color on the schedule that day and ask questions that they need. When I say designate spaces, I just mean that everything should have a zone at least. So when my kids come home from school, they know exactly where their things go. Their shoes go in their baskets, their backpacks and jackets are hung up on their hooks. They put their folders next to our calendar, our lunch boxes next to the sink, and they know where to find their things, their water bottles, their mittens, everything that they're going to need to take for school each day has a designated spot. And it's really, really important to me that my kids work on their independent living skills to the maximum level that they can. And it has taken a lot of trial and error to figure out what works. And it's always, always, always changing. But as long as everyone is on board and can utilize the systems we have in place, it really minimizes my mental load and lets me continue to take care of all the little fine details of our days.
That sounds great, Emily. So before every school year, I update the apps that my local school district uses. So it's usually the transportation app, so I can locate the bus when needed, and the Power School app, so I can view my son's attendance and grades, and the school lunch menu, so we can discuss what's for lunch that day. And if I need to pack a snack or a lunch for school that day for my son, and I can also reference the school calendar for the year and put the days that I would need to arrange a sitter if needed. So in my house, we have a designated area for work bags, backpacks, so that my son is aware that his school items go in the backpack and not to forget it on the way out the door in the morning. It took many years to build this skill, but it would all come with it would all come with constant practice. So I find that being prepared at the beginning of the school year motivates me to stay more on top of things and I could feel more in the loop with school. So next, we're going to cover some paperwork.
Reviewing IEP and documents. My suggestion will be to print out your child's IEP and have it handy during the school year. You can confirm that the IEP team members are still supporting the student and that their contact information is still updated. The school year gets busy, so this is one less thing to worry about when you start to have questions. It's helpful to read and make notes about any questions or concerns you might have so that you can share any new relevant information with the team. You can review the goals, objectives, and progress notes to make sure you are starting the school year and to share any new relevant data that you might have collected over the summer. Our children continue to grow over the summer, and sometimes they might regress, go backwards with their skills, or experience that summer slide, meaning they can lose skills or regress. And it's important for the team to be aware of these changes. Reviewing the accommodations on your own and with your child can be helpful to determine if they're still appropriate or if any changes might be needed. If your child has a behavior intervention plan or BIP, it can be helpful to confirm that all the adults supporting the student are aware of the information within the plan and how to move forward when the behaviors arise. It is also important to confirm that the student has an updated medical plan, a medical action plan, and safety plan. We will talk more about these plans later on during our presentation. If you would like to learn more about the IEP process, I encourage you to check out our website where we have all sorts of written resources and recorded videos. Beth, could you please drop that in the chat? You can also reach out to your math or parent mentor if you are having any questions or concerns regarding the IEP process or what is in your child's IEP. Emiliana, can you tell us about the role of the parent mentor?
I sure can, Margarita. So each Michigan Alliance for Families staff member is a parent or a family member of an individual with disabilities who has firsthand experience with the aspects of the special education system. So every staff member is trained in listening, communicating, and problem solving. So let's say if you're having any specific questions regarding evaluation or what it could be included in an IEP, you can reach out to your regional parent mentor. Or maybe if you don't know where to start or how to navigate the process, then definitely reach out to your regional parent mentor. We are here to help. Families can connect directly to the regional parent mentor, also known as the RPM, via our website at michiganallianceforfamilies.org. So please be sure to click under the About Us tab and look for MOF regions, and you will then be able to look under your region to see the contact information for your local RPM. Hey, Margarita, would you like to add anything about the great work that is done at Michigan Alliance for Families?
Yes, before I worked for a Michigan Alliance for Families, I did not know how important the IEP process and the IEP was, and how valuable it was to talk to a parent mentor. Talking to the parent mentor helped me advocate for my child in ways that I could not have done it on my own. If you have not reached out to your parent mentor yet, I really encourage you to say hi. Your parent mentor can talk to you on the phone, email, or even text. We're here to support you in the way that works best for you. We never want you to feel alone.
We have all heard it, and it's so, so true. You can't pour from an empty cup. So, to take care of those around you, you first have to take care of yourself. And I know that it's a lot easier said than done when you're raising a child with a disability, and it does look very different during all of our different stages of parenting. First off, I just want to encourage you, if you haven't yet, to consider therapy. Even when things are going well, it's still a great resource to help maintain your mental health. So call your insurance providers and see what kind of coverage you have. Some employers even offer special services just for mental health. Reach out to your medical provider and see if you need a referral, and then you can reach out to multiple therapy providers to ask them questions and to see if your personalities just vibe. I really think that finding the right therapist is a lot like dating, and it takes some trial and error to find someone that fits. If you don't have insurance coverage, you can ask about payment plans or if they're aware of any grants that cover services for families in need. I know that the next bullet point seems obvious, but you can have every tool at your disposal. But if you're not prepared or able to use it, it's not going to help. Self-care is more than just a bubble bath or indulging in a sweet treat. It is carving out pieces of your day or your week or your month to dedicate just to yourself in ways that will fill you up, not wear you down. There are always going to be different phases of life where it's not possible. And I know that there are situations and circumstances that make it seem impossible, but it's so, so important to prioritize yourself, even if it's only for a small moment here and there.
Yes, Emily, I couldn't agree with you more. The small moments make a huge difference. So I take myself out for dinner at least twice a month. It's just me. It's about what I want, and the only decisions I make directly affect myself.
That sounds amazing. My self-care literally is me getting up 2 hours earlier than the rest of my family just so that I can be alone and go to the gym by myself. Sometimes it's taking my dog for a walk without the kids, and it's yoga and meditation before bedtime or planning lunch dates with friends, which takes a full month's notice to get on the schedule. Most of this wasn't an option until my kids had enough independence and were in school full time. So for those preschool years, I was always parenting and I was always on and I was always so, so stressed. I'm new to self-care, and to be quite honest, I struggle with it still. Like this summer, balancing working from home and having my kids home has been a journey. And if I didn't have those couple of hours every morning just for myself, I'd be an even hotter mess than I am. Margarita, what do you do to manage your mental health?
Well, now that my son is in high school, I my self-care has changed over the years. I have had my ups and downs with self-care. It's a topic that I feel it needs to be talked about with all parents, but especially for us, parents with kids with disabilities. Self-care is something that I do more now that my son is older and it's more independent. To me, getting a massage every 2 weeks is something that helps me feel good and relax.
Thanks for sharing, ladies. I'm glad that we're all taking care of ourselves. But we also know that we're taking care of our children, and that includes preparing them as well. We know that heading back to school can bring some big feelings for our kids: excitement, nervousness, or sometimes a little bit of both. talking through what to expect, including changes to routines, like new forms of transportation, maybe new food they're going to be asked to try at lunch, or classroom supports that look a little different. Maybe it's in a different setting. Talking through those things can really help make that unknown feel a little more familiar. You can do this in other ways too. Maybe packing the backpack together, getting school supplies or a new outfit, something they can be excited about. Maybe reading a social story about going back to school. That can help build confidence. And we don't want to forget about those exciting parts too. Meeting new friends, getting to know new teachers or new individuals they'll be working with. There's all sorts of new experiences that can bring a fresh experience in a world to our kids. We want to make sure that they also feel prepared. Miliana, is there any tips that you may have about preparing your kids so that the end of those summer school blues don't hit too hard?
I do, Kelsey. We're actually in the middle of it right now. So I usually start about 2 weeks prior to school starting to just to get in the groove of things. So this is with me being more intentional about talking about school and gaining excitement and traction that I want my son to grasp on. So we talk about the possibility of having new teachers, making new friends, and bringing back the normalcy of a typical school day. So we practice wake ups 2 weeks prior because let's just say it's definitely needed. And we look at the first couple of weeks of the school lunch menu and we decide what days we will need to pack a lunch or even a snack. So if the student is taking the bus, we discuss the bus route and what that could look like. Once my son receives his school schedule, and if the school is open, we take a walkthrough and what a typical day could look like. So please keep in mind to visit if your student or child has a locker um, to practice combination of, or make arrangements to seek you if the locker combination is not for your student, um, or to find another storage, typical storage. I'm sorry. Um, okay. So I would try to keep in mind as a parent walking through the halls of what I can do to help my students' school day to make it easier. So let's talk about transportation. So a lot of thought goes into pickup and the drop off of our students. So we have parents have to think about the details, such as what goes into the pickup. So for example, the actual pickup time. Would it will it be the same every morning? Will it be the same bus driver that will be in the morning compared to the afternoon drop off? Does the bus number change? Is the bus pickup stop right at your house or is it further away? So these are examples that are just the same as again as the afternoon drop off. So remember, we as parents and caregivers set the tone for the day. So when thinking about transportation, most families just have the pickup time and they can plan for the next event. Not us. We know that planning may take a few more steps. So here are some tips. So if your child wears a harness, please be sure that the harness fits appropriately. And if your child uses a buckle buddy, please remember to use those items planned prior to the first day of school. So these items can be written in your child's IEP under the accommodation section. So please remember if you have a medical complex student, please be sure to explain and remind the bus driver of the disability and make a copy of the medical plan for their records. So we know not all students rely on school transit. So what does your son do for transportation, Margarita?
My son was able to pass his driving test, and he has been driving himself to school since last year. He likes to have his independence. Getting his driver's license was a huge accomplishment that involved a lot of preparation. We still prepared together, but he is taking the lead now. For example, he is in charge of making sure that he has his school parking pass before the school year begins. Although he sometimes still needs a little reminder from mom to keep the car gas tank full.
And in our family, we do parent drop-offs and pickups. And something I want you to consider is timing, because when my son had to wait for the bell to ring to go into the school building, he'd get really anxious and he would ramp up. So arriving about 1 to 2 minutes after the bell actually rang meant that that initial parking lot rush had cleared and we could actually find parking and he could walk right into the building. So he wasn't worried about being first, and that made that transition so much easier. Pickup tends to go more smoothly because he's excited to go home and he's excited to be outside and hang out with his friends. Next, we're going to cover school supplies and gear. I want to be a minimalist and I am not. And I really, really want to be. And one of the ways that I'm working toward this goal is by reusing our school gear from year to year. My kids have had the same backpack since preschool. And so my son's is going on his fourth year of use. Same with our lunch boxes and our water bottles. But I do let the kids personalize them each year. When our name labels start wearing off, we'll reorder them with updated interests. So we've gone from trucks to video game controllers. And we always add new keychains that we usually pick up on trips when we're in our gift shops and things like that. And so when things go or do wear out, we do replace them. I want you to consider our sensory needs. How is your students' fine and gross motor impact going to use, or how is their fine and gross motor going to impact the use and the overall functionality of the items that you're considering? Can your student comfortably wear the backpack? Can they actually use the zipper? Will that water bottle break if it is knocked off the table and thrown across the room when your child is having a meltdown? I know that one from personal experience. Is that jacket going to be too hot or too difficult to remove on the bus? So when it comes to gear, that's exactly what we're talking about. The jackets, the gloves, and all those essential extras that your kiddo is using every single day. Does last year's fit? Can they put it on by themselves? Does a friend have anything that you can borrow or hand-me-downs to share? Do you have extras that you can keep at school so they don't have to haul them back and forth? This leads us right back into school shopping. And I think that people fall into one of two camps. This is either super fun and exciting, or it's extremely difficult and overwhelming. And I want to know where you guys are because I'm on team exciting. So if you're on team exciting like me, please drop a heart into the chat. And if you are on team overwhelming, I want you to put a frown into the chat, please. So I think that Team Exciting has things covered. We know what we're doing and we like to do it. So I want to give some points and some tips for Team Overwhelming. Um, School supply lists, they're just recommendations. They're not requirements. So remember that you can also shop throughout the school year and you can utilize sales. When things go on clearance shortly after school starts is a great opportunity to stock up. And if you can't complete that supply list at the beginning of the year, you can always ask your teacher when they're running low on something so that you can get it throughout the year. Because I know a teacher is never going to complain about getting Clorox wipes in December instead of getting them all in August and having to store them for months and months and months. Margarita, you have a high schooler, so this looks a lot different for you. Could you please share?
Yes, since my 16-year-old is not into shopping and crowds, I do close shoppings with him at the end of July before everyone starts their shopping in August. We go to the stores on a weekday in the morning when they are less crowded, and we are at the point where he no longer lets me have any input when it comes to what shirt he wears on school picture day. He also doesn't like to use a backpack, so he just leaves all his stuff in his locker. This seems this seems to work for him well, and it took many years of working on those executive functioning skills to get to this point.
Okay, so now let's tackle lunchtime. I have a child that's a picky eater, as many as you probably do as well. At the beginning of the school year, we look at the lunch menu just about daily. And as the year moves forward, then we move to about monthly. So my student decides what he would like to eat, and if it's something that he's up for that day, then we just pack it. Um, he assists with packing his lunch, and in the younger years, I will say he really enjoyed selecting and packing his lunch, and it gave him a sense of ownership, and it was something that he knew what to expect to expect at lunchtime. And I will say that this little tip helped me and my little guy in the elementary years so much. So how does lunch go for you, Margarita?
Well, when he was younger, he used to have home lunch and he was very particular about what he ate. It has taken time and a lot of occupational therapy to support his eating habits, and now he prefers to eat the food in the cafeteria.
And I just wanted to add that my kiddo struggles to eat lunch in the cafeteria because of all the noises and the smells. It's too overstimulating. And he gets really, really anxious and excited to go outside for recess. So he has a designated spot in his schedule to eat later in the day when he's in a calm and quiet environment. So it's usually during story time or during a free play time, so he doesn't miss instructional time. Next, we are going to touch on social stories. As you've gathered, my son thrives with expectations. So social stories really help build those expectations and they can help children navigate those situations through different conditions, conversational turns, and more. They usually include clear descriptions and photos, are fairly brief, and they'll stay on one topic. Social stories are a tool that actually work well for my son if they're updated and used regularly. It has to be used regularly. So he's moving to a different elementary school this year, and the moment that we had that transition IEP meeting, I did request a social story about his new building, his new team, and what makes this new school special. So this social story covers the physical spaces like his new library and his new gym, and it also covers the staff that he's going to see, so his new principal, the custodian, or our therapy dog at this building, and of course his IEP team. It even included how they do PBIS, or positive behavior interventions and supports, at that specific building through a system called pause tickets, where students get recognized when they go above and beyond. Social stories can cover a lot of topics, and they're not just limited to younger children. But topics we've had covered over the years include school arrival, walking down the hallway, meeting his new school team, how to ask classmates to play, how to handle disappointment, because not getting the blue ball in gym class is the end of the world to him. And I know that sounds trivial to us, but it can be truly catastrophic and throw off his entire day. So you can ask your student's teacher or the school social worker to help you prepare these.
Thanks for sharing, Emily. I find that social stories can be incredibly helpful. My son used social stories at the beginning of his school career. I will say that social stories really helped with safety concerns, and especially when he would elope or leave the designated area. Luckily, after reviewing the social stories over and over, it started to help, and he learned that eloping, leaving the area, was not safe and not to do it. So we no longer use social stories, but again, we did the work at the beginning so that it's not needed now. Emily, can you speak a little on transition?
So I'm going to touch on this from the elementary parent lens. Like I said a moment ago, my son is switching schools this year, and this will be his fourth elementary school, and he's only going into the third grade. So I feel like I'm a pro at switching things up by now, but he still has some mega anxiety and he really, really hates change. So step one for us, like I said before, was requesting that social story. And we have been having this conversation and working through this anxiety all summer long. We also requested opportunities to meet his new team, and his new teacher was really eager to schedule a playground hangout and to see him throughout extended school year or ESY. There will also be opportunities closer to the start of the school year to head back into the buildings and meet his teammates. And that way he can get more comfortable with his environment and see these faces in person. To prepare until then, we continue to revisit that social story. We go to play on his new playground when summer programs when summer programs aren't running. You can't go when they are. And we continue to identify and work through all those really, really big feelings. Margarita, I know your son is in high school, so can you share about what this looks like when your child gets older and has more options?
Yes, when my son transitioned into high school, we requested for a day to visit the high school building prior to the open house so he could see the school and meet the teachers. This was a better fit for our family because the school was less crowded than during the open house night. The school made sure that the team was there so that they could meet him and our family, allowing us to start off the school year on a good note.
Thanks for sharing that information, ladies. And that brings us to our next section, preparing our team. Now, we know that a strong school year starts with strong relationships. Taking a few minutes to introduce yourself, help your child get to know their team, and establish that open communication from the very beginning can help lay the foundation for a collaborative year where everyone is working toward the same goals. Starting the year on that same page helps build trust, it reduces misunderstandings, and it creates a stronger partnership for supporting your child. Now, Emiliana, what are some ways that you work with your child's team to start the school year with Flair?
Yeah. So every year, I start the year with clear and effective communication. I remind myself that I am part of my child's IEP team, and this is a partnership, and my voice counts. With that being said, I send out the introductory email. So when the beginning of the school year approaches and my son receives his school schedule with the teacher's contact information on it, I start to send out the introductory email. So I try to make the email light, short, and sweet. When drafting the email, I put my son's name in the header and I pick a different font or a bold color, and I want it to stand out and be remembered. Then I asked for the preferred communication. Does the teacher prefer email, text, shared notebook, or the school app? I do want to note that if your student has more than one teacher, this email goes to all of them, which at times it can be overwhelming. And I want you to note that if your student is a medical complex student or has a concern, this step is crucial for action steps to get in contact with you for if a situation may arise. So I list my student's strengths, what he likes and what he doesn't like, his dislikes. And this could be motivators for your child. Is it a sticker chart? Is it praise? Is it more free time at the end of the day? It could be anything. I also list some techniques that work for my son if he's having a difficult day, and I list the strategies that work at home. I also include my student's snapshot. Can you speak more on this, Emily?
So what is a student snapshot? Fortunately, we've created an entire webinar on it, and you can find a link to that in the comments. A student snapshot is just a way to communicate all those little important things about your student with the staff that interact with them day to day. Not everyone attends an IEP meeting, and a lot of staff, like your music teacher or your librarian, are never going to see that IEP. So essentially, this is a way to bridge those gaps and give a refresher to your IEP team members at the start of the year. It's an effective way to share summer progress, changes and interests in home life, and to talk about what motivates or discourages your learner. So just like your child's IEP, this snapshot is going to be completely personalized and tailored to them. And it can be as simple or as fancy as you'd like. But it's important to remember that it is a snapshot and not a novel. You can send a basic email, create a flyer, make a slideshow, or even make a brief video. You can also include their spin or their strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. And I always make sure to include ways to connect. So making specific references to current passions like rockets or Super Mario Brothers, just ways to make an impact, and the techniques that I've been working at home when we work through those sticky moments. I highly encourage you to include your student with this. For our last IEP meeting, scheduling conflicts meant that my son couldn't attend. So I interviewed him and I created a little slide deck with a short video to share with his new IEP team. Making sure he was a part of the process really helped him feel like he was a part of things, and it gave him autonomy and control in a scary situation from moving from his current school team to the next. This is going to look different depending on where you have your annual IEP meeting and how old your student is.
I love this idea of the student snapshot. I would have definitely done this when my son was younger. It's a great way for everyone to be on the same page at the start of the school year.
Okay, let's talk medical plans. So some families have an extra layer when planning for the school year. When having a medically complex student, most parents must have a medical plan ready to go, just in case a situation may arise. This medical plan can consist of who was called first, which hospital would you like your child to attend, when, if, and how if a rescue medication is appropriate. July 1st is a turnaround date for all medical plans to be considered up to date for the following school year. So please be sure to plan ahead and get them completed by the physician with signatures prior to the school year. So once the medical plans are ready to go, and be sure to have signatures, consents ready to go as hard copies for the school's administration. So how about safety plans?
I have unique perspectives on school safety because I serve on my district safety committee. So I know the back and confidential side of things, and I know the typical parent side of things. And safety is something that people don't often think of until it directly affects them. As you've learned, my son has a lot of anxiety and he gets very upset when he hears emergency response sirens. So safety drills are a huge source of stress for him, and we had to figure out ways to reduce that stress. Working with his team, we created several solutions to help him manage his anxiety during school drills and to help prepare his team in case of a real emergency. His anxiety is so high that he asks questions like, what if there's a tornado and a fire at the same time? Or what if there's a tornado and I can't get to the bathroom because I'm in art class? And with the help of our school social worker, we created several social stories that address each safety situation, and we do review those with him from time to time. His team knows not to give him more than a few minutes notice about a drill, and they always have his bag ready. So this bag is completely separate from his backpack and it's kept at school. And we actually have two of them. They're kept in the classrooms that he spends the most time in. This contains a collapsible puffer jacket that's rolled up really tight, some noise canceling headphones, his sunnies, some prepackaged safe foods because he is a picky eater. And then we have his fidgets and then some print-offs of social stories and his favorite News to You magazines. So it really helps him stay comfortable and distracted during these safety drills. Initially, his anxiety was so high that I called and arranged tours of the fire station and the police department so that he could talk to people in uniform and see how all of this worked. The fire department even put on a full uniform with a full mask to show him what it would look like because it's pretty scary. And now he's seen it, so it should be less scary in a real life emergency. And it worked so well that I ended up working with his school team, including the school resource officer, to push into the classrooms, and they not only showed the students who would be helping them in an emergency, but it also made sure that the people that are responding knew that there were kids with disabilities with a wide variety of needs in the building. Another part of this that most parents don't realize exists is a reunification plan. Each district has a special plan in place in case of evacuation, where the students go, how they're managed, how they are released, and who they are released back to as part of that reunification plan. So for children with mobility concerns, with elopement, for processing delays, or for those who are easily overstimulated, it's really, really important to have their needs in these situations addressed clearly in advance. Miliana, we have supporting technology up next. Would you please share your ideas with us?
So when preparing for the school year, I remind my son's team that he uses assistive technology throughout his day. So my son uses an AAC device or augmentative and alternative communication device. Some even call it his talker. So I packed an extra adapter so that his device will stay charged if it's needed throughout the day. I also ask, I also make sure that it's updated and ready to go in the introductory email. In the introductory email, I let the staff know which program he uses and to become familiar and to learn the program. So if you think your child or student would benefit from an AAC device or other assistive technology, you would need to formally request an evaluation in writing addressing it to the IEP team. In the letter, you can add specific concerns such as education, communication, written expression, and mobility, just to add a few. If you'd like to view a sample letter, the sample letter template, please visit us at MichiganAllianceForFamilies.org under the All Topics section and choose the letter A and look for assistive technology. I would like everybody to be aware that not all AT or all assistive technology is actual tech. So assistive technology can also be referred to as fat pencils, pencils with weights, thicker and rounder crayons, etc. So remember, assistive technology, AT, is any kind of technology that can be used to enhance the independence of a person with a disability. So AT, assistive technology, helps the level of the playing field by providing them a way to fully engage in life's activities. So assistive technology devices are tools to help overcome challenges and enable people living with disabilities to enhance their quality of life and lead more independent lives. So we're all up for making things accessible.
We know that we just shared a lot of information with you over the last hour. We want to make sure that this information is easy to access, so we have created a resource checklist that lists out the tips and tricks we have reviewed together, as well as some of other things might work well for your family. We encourage you to print out and check out the relevant items as you prepare with Flair.
All right. Thank you, ladies. That was a lot of great information, and there were wonderful suggestions there of how we can prepare with Flair. So we do have some time for any questions that were submitted, or if you have any questions now. Beth, can you please let us know if there are any questions in the chat? And again, remember, these are our general questions. For any questions that are personalized to your own child, that is a great time to reach out to your parent mentor because they live in the areas that they cover and they have that firsthand experience. They are really the best one to reach out to. So for those
Oh,
general questions.
Okay, we did have a question come in. Our first question, well, we've had a couple questions come in. So our first question that came in is, what is a buckle buddy?
I can answer this one. Great question, by the way. So, a buckle buddy is for a student that may not actually need a full harness, that can sit in the seat and actual, um, not not actually get up from the seat. So, what it is, it's like a little puzzle. They put it over the seat belt of the in the bus, and it's kind of like you have to hold one end in, and the other half you have to insert it, but twist it. So it's like a little puzzle to insert. So then it's like a bigger lock over the seatbelt.
All right. We did have a question come in about the student snapshots. Does anyone know of high school students or high school moms that have used student snapshots for their high school students?
I can answer that one. I do. I know a few moms who have worked with their kids to create a student snapshot, and they actually did it in whatever way their child wanted to do it. So there were some families who created a PowerPoint presentation. There was another family who did a short video, similar to what Emily suggested when her son couldn't be at the IEP. So it's really about whatever way your child wishes to make themselves known. It can be a great self-advocacy tool in that start to communication.
We had another question that came in. In your handouts, do you have sample calendars?
Um, would it be calendars for just like a blank template of a calendar, or a,
They just
I'm
asked sample calendars. I think when you mentioned earlier, when you talked about the sample checklists and things in your handout, maybe calendars were mentioned, so they didn't know if maybe your handouts also had sample calendars.
no, but I know on Google you can just fill out a printable a calendar, and go with that, or visualize like the school calendar and reference that for the school year. It's
Um,
really any blank template. Oh, go on ahead, Emily.
Sorry, Emiliana. When I'm talking about calendars, our school releases single page print offs that have each month in a tiny block, and it says which days are half days, which days are off, etc. That's what I was talking about printing off. As far as calendars for you to use, that's another thing where I think trial and error is going to really, really help. You can look for apps that are going to have free trials to find something you like. But we use the calendar app that was built into our phone systems at our house, and it links. If you mess with the settings, you can link it to the other adults or teenagers in your house so everyone's on the same page. But I've used paper calendars. I used to get the big desk ones that were giant, and I would have that on our wall. And we've been color coded since my kids were born. Um, and so I always had a little pouch with different colored pens in it to keep everyone on track. And when I say find what works for you and evolve with it, I sincerely mean it, because I will buy these beautiful planners and then I don't use them because I'm so stressed about ruining them because they're so pretty. And so finding what actually works that I'm actually going to use, it does it does change. And right now I am solely digital and trying to use our paper imprint on the world. And so it's been fun, and it takes a lot of effort to figure out what works. But to me, that's part of the process. So yeah, check out your school website to print off your school calendar. And then I would just type it into whatever video app you use, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, and see what people are doing, see what resonates with you. Because if you can actually make the planning process enjoyable, you're more likely to stick with it.
We had another question come in. Any suggestions to learn to use a combo lock or alternatives for storage?
I can answer this one. My son could not remember his combination for, I mean, it just wasn't going to happen. So we actually have, he has an actual lock. It's a different one. It kind of looks like a key, but it has a numeric code, and he actually made up the code himself. Luckily, I was viewing it because I don't know if he would have showed me, but it could be as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm obviously not saying that's the code, but or for your child, but it worked. And he actually remembered the 4 digits for the locker combination. And it was just more of like a small keypad, which they do have, I believe, on Amazon.
I want to add for the storage part of this, when you're talking about school storage, always check with your building team first. I know in my district, the students have to use clear backpacks and they're not allowed to use lockers. And clear backpacks historically don't hold up very well. So finding out what works has been a challenge for members of our community. But every school is going to have its own policy on the bags allowed and what you're allowed to carry around from place to place. So for sure, check on that. And if your child has items that have to be kept private, whether it's feminine products or medication, and they are going to have access to that during the school day, ask about where those things can be stored, if they can use a specific type of pouch to like block it out so other people can't see, so that we're preserving their dignity as well as giving them access. But that definitely is going to come down to your individual building within the district for their policy on those things.
And I'll add one more thing there. If you are doing your own lock and you're looking for a number, it can be really helpful to pick a number that they may already know or have some familiarity with it. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a number like your address. It could be something in a TV show. I know in my family, my kids were big fans of Monsters, Inc., the movie. And if you remember the scene where the monster gets a sock on him and he goes, code 2319. Oh, boom, right there. They know that number. And so that was an easy one for us to use as a passcode to something if they needed. So thinking about those numbers in a favorite show or a favorite book, that can be a great place to start too.
It looks like that is all the questions we have for today. And I want to thank you all so much